Tonight, I drive a Lamborghini Murcielago in Rockport. Bliss drives a Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren in Palmont, and we drive a Porsche Carrera GT in both. Some racing games are remembered for their cars, others for their soundtrack, but one of the biggest reasons Need for Speed Most Wanted and Need for Speed Carbon are still loved today is their world design and story. Rockport and Palmont weren't just the places to drive, they shaped the entire experience. Every highway, mountain road, industrial district, and shortcut was designed to make high-speed racing feel exciting. Then, a few years later, EA did something unexpected. Instead of creating an entirely new map, they combined both cities into one massive world and turned it into an online MMO multiplayer racing game called Need for Speed World. It was an ambitious idea that many players still remember till this day. Rockport is built around speed. The city is filled with long highways, wide avenues, industrial areas, and suburban streets that naturally encourage high-speed racing. The layout constantly connects different districts through loops and interchanges, making every pursuit and race feel dynamic instead of repetitive. Police chases become memorable because the map itself worked with the gameplay, offering countless escape routes, hidden shortcuts, and destructible objects that rewarded players who knew the city well. The map also has a clear visual identity. Each district feels different without becoming confusing, allowing players to recognize locations almost instantly. From the busy downtown roads to the quiet golf course and the massive highway network, Rockport balances realism with arcade racing in a way that still feels satisfying today. One of Rockport's smartest design choices is that the city gradually opens up as you progress through the career. Instead of giving players the entire map from the beginning, each new district acts as a reward from climbing the blacklist. Every expansion introduces new roads, fresh landmarks, and different racing opportunities, making progression feel meaningful beyond simply unlocking faster cars. Our journey begins in Rosewood, the smallest district in Rockport. It's made up of quiet suburban neighborhoods, winding residential streets, a golf course, and the iconic bus station. The roads are relatively forgiving, making it the perfect place for players to learn the handling model, experiment with shortcuts, and survive their first police pursuit. Despite being the starting area, Rosewood remains relevant throughout the game, thanks to its technical corners and memorable escape routes. Next comes Camden Beach, the industrial heart of the city. Shipping yards, factories, warehouses, and narrow dockside roads create a completely different driving experience. Tight corners replace the open suburban streets, while construction zones, freight yards, and elevated roadways offer plenty of opportunities to outsmart pursuing police. Camden feels rough, dense, and unpredictable, making races here noticeably more technical. And then Grey Point, a weathered coastal district shaped by its fishing heritage. Wide residential streets weave between aging canneries, fishing docks, scrapyards, and abandoned industrial sites, creating a driving experience that constantly shifts between narrow neighborhood roads and open waterfront routes. Tight bends, uneven terrain, and scheduled back roads provide plenty of opportunities to shake off pursuing police. Grey Point feels isolated, rugged, and unpredictable, making every race a test of both speed and precision. As we move up higher up the blacklist, downtown Rockport becomes available. This is the city's commercial center, filled with office buildings, busy intersections, multi-lane avenues, and towering highways weaving between skyscrapers. Traffic becomes heavier, road becomes faster, and pursuit becomes significantly more intense. Downtown is where the Rockport truly begins to showcase its sense of scale, bending high-speed expressways with dense city streets that constantly challenges players' awareness. What makes these four districts work so well together is that each one has its own personality without feeling disconnected from the rest of the map. The transition from suburban neighborhoods to industrial docks, then into a bustling downtown, makes Rockport feel like a believable city rather than the collection of racetracks. Every area introduces new driving challenges while remaining connected through highways, shortcuts, and interchanges that encourage exploration. That balance is what has helped Rockport remain one of the most celebrated maps in racing games. It isn't the biggest open world, but nearly every road serves a purpose. Whether you're blasting down the interstate, beating through the city's traffic, or you're escaping a heat level 5 police pursuit through industrial back roads, the map constantly supports the gameplay instead of getting in the way. It's a city designed not just to be explored, but to be mastered, and that's why players still remember Rockport nearly 2 decades later. While Rockport focused on speed, Palmont focused on variety. The city introduced windy canyon roads, tight urban streets, coastal highways, and mountain passes that demanded more precise driving. Instead of relying only on long straights, the map encouraged technical cornering and elevation changes, making every route feel unique. Palmont also changed from day to night, so the glowing lights, reflections, and atmosphere gave the world a completely different personality. Combined with territory system and carbon, every district felt like it belonged to a rival crew, making the city itself feel connected to the game's progression rather than simply serving as a backdrop. What really made Palmont memorable, though, was how distinct each region felt from each other. Instead of one massive city with the same style repeated everywhere, Carbon divided the world into districts with their own identity, road layouts, and driving philosophy. As you expanded your territory, it genuinely felt like you were exploring new parts of the city rather than simply unlocking another section of the map. Downtown Palmont was the financial heart of the city. Glass skyscraper towered over wide boulevards, intersections came one after another, and traffic could quickly become a problem during high-speed pursuits. It was a region that rewarded precision. One missed corner could send you crashing into barriers or oncoming traffic, while experienced players could chain together perfect racing lines through its sweeping avenues. At night, the illuminated skyline gave downtown some of the iconic visuals in the entire game. On the opposite side of the spectrum was Campton. This industrial district traded bright city lights for factories, warehouses, rail yards, and construction zones. The roads were narrower and far less predictable, often filled with tight corners, underpasses, and obstacles that forced players to constantly adjust their driving. Campton felt rough around the edges, matching the aggressive personality of the crews that control it. Then there was Fortuna, one of the most visually diverse regions in the game. Here, the road stretched along the coastline before climbing into rolling hills and luxurious neighborhoods. Long sweeping corners made it ideal for maintaining momentum, but sudden elevation changes meant drivers could rely purely on top speed. It was one of the best examples of Carbon philosophy, rewarding smooth driving rather than simply holding the accelerator. Silverton represented the final challenge, home to massive mansions, government buildings, and the city's wealthiest neighborhoods. It features some of the fastest roads in the game while still demanding complete control. By the time players reached Silverton, they had already conquered much of Palmont, making it feel like a fitting stage for the game's biggest rivalries and final confrontations. And to point out, at this point of the game as well, we don't have highway connections tracks, just like how Most Wanted had, so the sense of speed is lowered and not usable in Palmont. Of course, the most famous roads in Carbon weren't inside the city at all. They were the canyon roads. The canyon races became one of Carbon's defining features, inspired by mountain pass racing. These narrow cliffside roads removed almost every safety barrier. Every corner carried real consequences because drifting too wide didn't just cost time, it could send your car straight off the edge. The lack of guardrails created a level of tension that normally circuit races could simply match. This design philosophy extended to the rest of the map as well. Carbon rarely relied on perfect flat roads or endless highways. Nearly every route featured elevation changes, off-camera corners, tunnels, bridges, or sequence of turns that rewarded drivers who understood weight transfer and racing lines. The map wasn't just built for its speed, it was built to keep players engaged from one corner to the next. Even years later, Palmont remains one of the most distinctive open worlds in the Need for Speed series. It may not have been the largest map, but its thoughtful layout, varied districts, memorable canyon roads, and constantly changing atmosphere gave it far more personality than many larger racing game worlds. Every neighborhood felt handcrafted, every shortcut felt intentional, and every newly conquered district felt like another step towards owning the city. One of the most ambitious things Need for Speed World attempted wasn't just creating an online racing game, it was reimagining how players experience two of the series' most iconic open worlds. Instead of building a completely new city from scratch, EA Black Box combined the maps of Most Wanted and Carbon into one massive environment, connecting Rockport and Palmont through newly designed highways, tunnels, and transition zones. This created one of the largest maps of the Need for Speed franchise had ever seen. Now, I need to clear things up. So, for the footage you're seeing right now for World is recorded in a community client, aka the most famous server called World United GG, short for WUG. They're making a lot of cool things and adding new cars, new lore-friendly cars, I would say, and they're adding new stuff into the game, which makes the game 1,000 times better than it was. The idea sounds simple today, but it was actually a fascinating design challenge. Rockport and Palmont were never originally meant to exist in the same world. They were built years apart from different games, with different artistic goals, different road layouts, and completely different driving styles. Yet Need for Speed World had to make them feel like parts of a single, believable region. Rockport remained almost exactly as players remembered it from Most Wanted. Its wide city streets, industrial districts, docks, highways, and suburban neighborhoods encouraged high-speed racing. The roads were generally broad and forgiving, making it easy to maintain speed through long corners. It was the perfect playground for police pursuits, where players could weave through traffic, launch over jumps, and disappear into back streets before returning to the freeway. Palmont, on the other hand, offered a completely different experience. Introduced in Carbon, it was built around elevation changes and technical driving. The city's downtown featured tight corners and more compact streets instead of simply holding top speed. Palmont rewarded precision. Every corner demanded careful braking and smooth exits, creating races that felt noticeably different from those in Rockport. Rather than forcing one style over the other, Need for Speed World embraced both. Players could cruise from the fast, open highways of Rockport directly into the tight urban streets of Palmont, without ever seeing a loading screen. The transition itself became part of the journey, making the world feel much larger than the entire city had ever felt on its own. To make this possible, the developers designed entirely new connecting regions that had never appeared in previous games. Long stretches of highway, tunnels, bridges, forests, and industrial corridors served as natural links between the two cities. These weren't simply empty roads, they were carefully constructed transition spaces that gradually shifted the scenery and road design so the change between cities felt believable instead of abrupt. The overall layout also reflected the strengths of both original games. Rockport occupied one side of the map with its long stretches of freeway network, while Palmont had tight urban street corners, creating the impression of neighboring cities connected by regional infrastructure. This gave players a genuine sense of distance. Driving from one end of the world to the other actually felt like taking a road trip rather than crossing a video game level. What made the map especially interesting was how differently players could use it compared to previous Need for Speed games. In Most Wanted and Carbon, the open world mainly existed as a way to travel between races or escape the police. In World, the map became a social space. Players spent hours simply driving around, meeting other racers, discovering shortcuts, or gathering before events. The roads themselves became part of an online experience. From a level design perspective, the developers also made subtle adjustments to support multiplayer gameplay. Race routes were expanded, checkpoints were optimized for online competition, and many roads were reused in different combinations to create a large variety of events without requiring entirely new environments. The same intersection might appear in several different races but approach from different directions, giving familiar roads a fresh feeling. Looking back today, the map feels like a glimpse of what the franchise could have become. With modern hardware, dynamic weather, and seamless online integration, the concept of connecting multiple Need for Speed cities into one persistent world seems more exciting than ever. Need for Speed World may not have fully realized that vision, but its map design proved that combining beloved locations into a single interconnected playground was an idea well ahead of its time and one that many fans still hope to see revisited. And that's what exactly happened in 2019 with Soapbox Race World. Rockport and Palmont each represented a different philosophy of racing game design. One emphasized speed, freedom, and intense police pursuits, while the other focuses on technical driving, elevation changes, and a darker, more atmospheric world. Although they were created for separate games with different goals, both cities left a lasting impact on the Need for Speed series and on the players who spent countless hours exploring their streets. Rockport was designed to make players feel fast. Its wide highways, industrial districts, suburban neighborhoods, and interconnected freeway system encouraged long stretches of high-speed driving. Every road seemed to support one core idea: keeping momentum. Whether you were competing in a sprint race or trying to escape a relentless police pursuit, the city constantly rewarded aggressive driving. The map itself became part of a challenge, with shortcuts, construction sites, parking garages, and hidden paths, providing opportunities for skilled players to outsmart the police. It wasn't simply a backdrop for racing, it actively shaped every pursuit and every memorable escape. Palmont approached map design from an entirely different perspective. Rather than relying on wide roads and open spaces, it challenged players with tighter streets, winding mountain passes, and dramatic elevation changes. Corners demanded precision instead of raw speed, while the surrounding canyons and hills created races that felt more personal and technical. The city's nighttime setting, combined with its dramatic lighting and canyon roads, gave Carbon a unique identity that contrasted sharply with Most Wanted. Instead of feeling like a sprawled urban playground, Palmont felt like a city surrounded by danger, where every road could become an opportunity for a perfectly executed drift, costly mistake. In the end, Need for Speed World may not have been the perfect game, but it proved that these two legendary cities belong together. It offered a glimpse of a future where the best locations of the franchise could coexist inside one living, breathing world. Even though that experiment came to an end, its legacy continues to remind us how powerful, thoughtful map design can be, and why Rockport and Palmont remain two of the greatest open worlds ever created in racing games. Well, this is the Need for Speed video. I actually wanted to do this after the GTA video, honestly, but I didn't want to do it, and I gave priority for Brawlhalla. But I just quickly ran out of ideas for Brawlhalla and then just had so many ideas for Need for Speed, so I just made a Need for Speed video after the Brawlhalla video. So, I'm gonna make a Batman video next. Probably it's gonna take time, but I'll still manage to make a video about Batman Arkham not Origins, but Asylum and City and Night. But thank you for watching.